What up, TCK Potters? Welcome back to the program. I'm your host, Sky Guasco, another episode of the Candlestick Kids Fantasy Football Podcast, aka TCK Pod. This is episode 419. We got another mock draft coming at you. I got my man Jordan Della Valle coming back with another one of these mocks. He's been on the last handful. And we've got a very special guest, my good friend and former founder of the podcast, co-host of the podcast, OG TCK Potter, my man Curly, coming out of retirement, dusting it off to get in and down on a mock draft. We have a live draft room. It is full. We're going to get started in just about 30 seconds, but I wanted to introduce the show quickly. We are doing a mock draft. We're going to do a super flex redraft PPR settings. Now, for sake of time on the podcast per usual and the fact that we have a full house, we are going to keep it a bit minimal as far as draft positions. So we have a quarterback, maybe two if you want that super flex, two running backs, two wide receivers, a tight end, and just three bench spots. We're going to keep it easy on the bench. I know we want to find deep sleepers and stuff, but that won't be this draft. We're looking up at the top heavy for the quarterbacks because a lot of those guys are going to be up in the top heavy. Anyway, if you have not yet, please follow me on Twitter, Sky Guasco, SkyGuasco, on Instagram as well, fantasyfootball_TCK pod. Find us on the Believe Podcast Networks. Anywhere you listen to your podcast, please rate and review. And make sure, of course, to subscribe, hit the bell, and leave a comment down here below as we go through our mock draft. Without any further ado, let me bring in the boys. What's up, y'all? Jordan, good to have you back once again for another mock draft. And Curly, my man, I feel like it's been literally years since you've been on the show. And for folks retuning in or just tuning in and maybe are new this season, reintroduce yourself to the TCK Potters, man. Great to have you back.
Yeah, Daniel and I helped you get this kick-started a bunch of years ago, 2018, 2017, something like that. Too long to count now, but yeah, I'm Curly. I live out here in Arizona. I came out here for grad school way back in about 2013 to study photography, and I've been pretty much stuck ever since. I mean, stuck in a good way because there's a lot of job opportunities out here for teaching photo classes at ASU and the community colleges, but yeah, and then on my free time, I do fantasy football, obviously. I ain't no expert analyst, so definitely don't do as I do with all these picks here. But I every single day I've got podcasts running in the background, running in my ears when I'm mowing the lawn. I look for chores to do around the house so that I can put a damn podcast on and take a break from my normal life. So I'm always listening to football all off season, everything. So I definitely know everything that's going on. Aaron Rodgers' sandals and his weird man bun and his weird passive aggressive drama and but yeah, that's me.
Excellent, man. Great to have you back. And before we get into Jordan, Curly, can we get a up to the minute live temperature check in Tempe, Arizona?
Man, it's been a beautiful monsoon season, actually. Last year, so for those of you who don't know Arizona, in the summertime, you have two summers. You have dry summer and you have wet summer. The first half of summer, it's like 110 and 0% humidity. The second half of summer, it's like 110 and 50, 60, 80. It depends. But last year, we didn't have any freaking rain. It was just, there's a drought going on, obviously, a mega drought in the Southwest. But the past 2 weeks, man, our monsoon season hit. The weather's dropped from like 110, 115. It was 98, 97. It was a high of 82 just a few days ago. We had rain for 2 or 3 straight days. There's flash floods everywhere. We went up and we went swimming yesterday up in Sedona. So Arizona is actually freaking beautiful right now. Knock on wood.
Wow.
Hope it'll last a while.
That's awesome, man. Tell the fantasy footballers we say hi. Jordan, what's up with you, man? How you feeling in the Bay Area?
Pretty good. Nothing ever gets up to 82 here. Pretty much always stays the same temperature year round.
We know that.
Part of the reason why I love it here. Yeah, of course.
That's awesome.
Also noticed I was the only one without a San Francisco hat, despite the fact that I'm the one living here now. So
right.
I had one. Should have worn it.
All good, brother. Jordan is currently where Curly and I grew up, which is a lot of fun. So let's have some fun, boys. I'm going to bring everybody in here. We got a big podcast for you, and we have a big draft room ready for us to get going. For the viewers on YouTube, you can check out the draft board here. And, of course, podcasters, I will do my very best as we go along to update you as we get through this. We are going to go live right now in 3, 2, 1. Nick Tui on the clock here. Kamish coming up after that. We have all sorts of folks in the place with us this evening. I'm very excited to have a full draft room. Once again, we're doing a super flex mock draft, redraft, PPR. So this is not dynasty style, and we are going to have rookies involved here. Super flex, redraft, PPR. Now, I'm drafting out of the 5th spot today. Lucas, also co-host of the TCK pod, in the 4th spot. And Jordan, you are in the 8th, and Curly, you're in the 9th. So you guys are back-to-back. Jordan, we'll start with you here. If the chips fall, are you going quarterback early here, or are you going to try to take advantage of one of these top wide receivers or running backs falling to you?
Yeah, I mean, I think given the amount of wide receiver starting positions we have here, we're starting 2 on the roster. I'm definitely not going to go with a top-tier wide receiver, I don't think. I think I'll be okay, even if Devontae Adams with Aaron Rodgers back now, Tyreek Hill are available at me at the 1.08. I think I'd still rather go with a top-tier running back or a top-tier quarterback, given that it's super flex, rather than drafting a wide receiver early.
Fair enough. I am on the clock here. I'll talk to you mine, and then Curly, I want to get your strategy. So I am going to go quarterback. McCaffrey, Patrick Mahomes, Dalvin Cook, and Alvin Kamara went off first. I am looking at Josh Allen, Kyler Murray, or Lamar Jackson. I am going to go quarterback here. I just need to figure out which one I like. I do like Josh Allen quite a bit. I expect a big bounce back from Lamar. Curly's in the red zone. We'll get an update on the Cardinals here in a little bit. I'm going to go with Josh Allen here. I think he can keep it steady. I'll go with Josh Allen as my first pick at the number 5 slot. T-Strain coming up next, and then back-to-back Jordans. So we heard from Jordan at the 8 spot. Curly, what are you thinking? Again, are you hoping that a top-end running back falls to you? We're going to go with the top-end wide receiver, or are you going to stick with quarterback and try to get it early?
Yeah, usually when I go into any draft, I really don't care. I'm not looking for this player or that player. I'm just, especially the first few rounds where it's so important to get somebody reliable and not reach too much. I'm just looking to get good value here. Definitely super flex. I definitely try to grab a quarterback early, because if you don't, man, you're looking in the 3rd, 4th, 5th round, and you're looking at these not so top quarterbacks compared to some really good wide receivers and running backs, and it's really hard to grab. I don't know, not Matthew Stafford, but somebody ranked a little bit below him instead of somebody there in the 3rd round. So yeah, I'll be looking QB or running back here this next pick.
Jordan, you're on the clock currently, man. What are you feeling?
Yeah, I was actually hoping Kyler fell all the way to the 8. He didn't. I'm not feeling too comfortable with Jonathan Taylor or Saquon in a redraft this year. So I'm going to go with Lamar. Scott, you spoke about him a little bit earlier, thinking about taking him at the 5. Instead, went with Josh Allen. I was actually trying to look too if this was a 4-point passing or 6-point passing mock draft, but if it's, I'm going to assume it's 4-point passing.
It's 4 because it's standard, but I usually always do 6 in a league. Yeah, Curly, you're on the clock as well. You can make your pick whenever. We'll come back to you, but it is a 4-point technically with the scoring, but I always do 6 points. But that's somewhat irrelevant with the mock. But go ahead.
Yeah, irrelevant with the mock, but in terms of backing up my pick of going Lamar over Dak,
sure.
Obviously the rushing upside of Lamar Jackson and the rushing touchdowns, as opposed to being a true passing quarterback.
Absolutely. So you went Lamar Jackson. Kyler Murray went before you. Yep. Derrick Henry went after me. And then, Curly, you're on the clock here at number 9. What are you going for here?
I was looking at quite a bit of different running backs. I'm in the same boat about Jonathan Taylor. It's really hard he's 50-50, right? Last season, half of us were about to drop him in the first half of the season. In the second half of the season, he's a top 10 running back, so it's really hard to expect what to get from Jonathan Taylor. I was looking at Jonathan Taylor, Saquon Barkley. That's hard to pick him over Zeke Elliott too. So I ended up going with Zeke Elliott just to take the safe route there, especially since there's a little bit of rumors of him slimming down, toning down a little bit, and showing up to camp ready to go yesterday. I'm
expecting a big year out of Zeke.
Oh, yeah.
The Cowboys in general are going to have a big bounce back, but I am expecting a big turnaround here from Zeke of last year. He's been absolutely dominant until last year when Dak went down. I expected the same, and he has trimmed up a little bit as well. Curly, you're back on the clock. Let me read off the turn here, and we'll get back to your next pick. Zeke Elliott went off for Curly at number 9. Saquon went after him at 10. Dak Prescott, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5th quarterback in the first round to go off at number 11. Josh goes with Aaron Jones and Travis Kelce, Josh McDonough of the Commish Fantasy Football Podcast. And then Devontae Adams and Tyreek Hill go back-to-back right before Curly's pick there. There's still a handful of quarterbacks left, plenty of running backs, and, of course, anybody after the first two wide receivers, or you could go top tight end if that's what you're feeling. Curly, you're back on the clock. What are you feeling? And then Jordan, you're right after him.
Well, let me check out, make sure I don't, here, I'm just going to pick Jonathan Taylor right now. I was super surprised that Jonathan Taylor is still around here. Tyreek Hill, Devontae Adams, Travis Kelce just went before him. But I'm looking at Taylor, Chubb, Justin Herbert, Russell Wilson, Diggs. I would like to grab QB here for sure, but I think it's just a little too early to reach for Herbert over Jonathan Taylor. So I guess I'm going to start out with a zero QB approach here.
A nice stack, though. Zeke and Jonathan Taylor is a quality run. And that's a crazy thing about Superflex, man. Like, quarterbacks are so important, but if for some reason you don't go quarterback, the value you can get at other positions is just unparalleled compared to redraft. You're just going to have to make it up at quarterbacks later. All right, Jordan, you're back on the clock, man. What are you feeling?
Yeah, this pick, I was also surprised Jonathan Taylor was falling, and probably didn't. I would have. But I also think even in a super flex, I'm not too worried about grabbing a second QB too early. And so I'll take my first running back in Nick Chubb. I think after Nick Chubb, the running back, there's a little bit of a break here after those that have been taken, and he might be the last top tier after maybe Eckler as well, since we're in a PPR.
I love it. And Nick Chubb goes. I'm very high on Nick Chubb this year as well. Missed 5 games last year. I think he's going to have a huge bounce back as well. My man, Jay Herbs, goes at number 7 here. And then Russell Wilson as well. So when I'm looking at quarterback, I was going to go Justin Herbert. And I think maybe Jordan Steinman knew that, so they cut me off if they listened to the show here. So I would have gone Justin Herbert, but he's been picked. So my strategy is going to change a little bit. Next quarterback's up, Aaron Rodgers, Joe Burrow, Jalen Hurts. I'm on the turn-ish with about 10 picks. I think I can get another high-quality one if I want them. But I'm looking at other positions here. Running backs, Austin Eckler, Najee Harris, Antonio Gibson, Stephon Diggs, Nuke, DK, and then Kittle and Waller also available. For science, I think I'm just going to go here and go with the stack because it fell to me. I have nothing wrong with Stephon Diggs coming at me, and so my first wide receiver is going to be Stephon Diggs, and I have Josh Allen as well. We do have the turn here. Lucas is up, and then we have Fantasy Football Truth, the commish, and Nick Toohey up as well, up on the turn here, and we are cooking today. I'm really enjoying the fluidity of this mock draft. I'm going to be back on the clock, and let's see, George Kittle goes, Najee Harris goes. I'm looking probably at another high-profile wide receiver or Austin Eckler or Joe Mixon if they fall. I probably am looking in order. I'm probably looking at Eckler, Mixon, let's see, DeAndre Hopkins, and DK Metcalf. Those are my 4 I'm targeting. There's 5 picks before me. Let's hope that one of those guys fall to me.
Eckler's dropping that far, man. How is Eckler going after Najee and Gibson right now?
Yeah, and PPR too. Aaron Rodgers goes, and Nick Toohey up again here on the turn. He's got CMC and Aaron Rodgers, Antonio Gibson, Najee Harris, George Kittle goes after me with Stephon Diggs. So you guys are looking here. So Curly's got 2 running backs, very, very good running backs, top 5 drafted running backs for the most part. And Jordan, you have Lamar Jackson and Nick Chubb. I have Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs. I'm going with that Buffalo Bills stack. And I can promise you there's no way in hell I'm getting any of the running backs out of Buffalo. So I'm good with the Bills at this point. Nick Toohey goes Aaron Rodgers and Joe Burrow back-to-back, has CMC, has his quarterbacks locked up, and now he can hit wide receiver and tight end for quite a while. If you're not used to doing super flex and you start doing mocks and stuff, like the draft strategy and the type of players that are falling in certain rounds is just so unique if you do redraft constantly. So I think that's why it's important that we pull this up. Any quick surprises before we get into my pick here, guys? Jordan, we'll start with you. Any surprise, your team or not, in the first round, either good value or maybe somebody that has, was going a little bit too early for you?
Yeah, I mean, I think in terms of good value, it's someone who just went off the board. In Austin Eckler, I mean, I'm going to try to count quickly. RB14 off the board in a PPR format, I think is an extreme value. Interestingly enough, that the team that got him is now Cook, Harris, and Eckler. So pretty robust running back room. I think someone who may have gone a little bit earlier than I would have taken him would have been Derrick Henry. Similar to Austin Eckler, we're in a PPR draft, and I think Henry loses some of his value because of his lack of passing work in that offense. And in a super flex draft there too. If I didn't like the running backs there, I'm happy to have taken Kyler, Lamar, Dak over Derrick Henry.
Fair enough. I'm going to put my pick in quick, and then Curly, we'll get to you with maybe a surprise in this first couple of rounds. So on the turn, Burrow, Clyde Edwards-Helaire goes before Austin Eckler. Austin Eckler again going at RB 14 in this draft, which is insane. Calvin Ridley goes after him, and I was looking at Calvin Ridley as well, but because Eckler and Ridley go off, I was looking at DK. I was also looking at Nuke, but I don't have a running back yet. And in Superflex with all these guys going off, after Mixon, there's a giant tier in my opinion. I wanted to make sure I was a part of that. I know Mixon's a bit sketch. There's a lot of different mindsets on Joe Mixon this year, but I believe in him. I believe in the offense with Joe Burrow healthy and Chase in there now to back up the safeties. And linebackers, I think Joe Mixon's going to have a lot of room to run there. So I like that pick. I have Allen, Diggs, and Mixon. DK and Nuke go right after me. And Jordan, you're back on the clock. Curly, you're on deck.
Yeah, so this pick is actually a pretty easy one for me to make. Given that tier break that you mentioned after Mixon, I'm not looking at any of these running backs. I don't differentiate too much between all the quarterbacks that are available. I'm happy to take them later as my super flex. So I'm going to take what I think is the largest positional tier drop right now, taking Darren Waller as the third tight end off the board. I think everyone after obviously those top three has questions associated with each of them. And rather than rolling the dice, I'm happy to take Waller and plug that spot for the whole season.
I considered it at my pick as well, but because Joe Mixon was there, if Mixon would have gone and it was like Ridley, DK, and Nuke as my wide receivers, I already have Diggs, I may have gone Waller there, but I had to solidify that top running back, in my opinion, so I passed on him, but I think that was a great call from you. Curly, you're up again, man, and you're going to have another pick here in about 5.
Yeah, I got 20 seconds left on the clock, but I'm thinking I'm just going to go A.J. Brown here. I was really thinking I just need to grab a QB either way.
Don't force it.
Right, I've got A.J. Brown, Justin Jefferson, DeAndre Swift, Dobbins, Kyle Pitts. So I'm going to go with A.J. Brown here because I definitely have him ranked way higher than Justin Jefferson just because, we forget about Adam Thielen, right? So I think A.J. Brown is going to dominate, and Julio Jones coming in, I just think that's going to open up more of the field for him. The poor guy's been playing injured too the past couple of seasons. So if he even comes in completely healthy, I think A.J. Brown is obviously going to dominate. So yeah, I was the QBs that just went after I made that pick too. We have Jalen Hurts, Tom Brady, Ryan Tannehill. So I might be regretting that pick because I was looking at reaching for Brady or Tannehill or even Matt Stafford. I was definitely not going to go with Jalen Hurts that early because he might not even be on the freaking Eagles in a couple of weeks, right? He might be he might be over on the Texans, which would be terrible, catastrophic. So I'm hoping right now, I'm one pick away. I'm hoping Matthew Stafford makes it over to me. Otherwise, I might really be waiting on QB.
That's a great call, and you're pretty much back on the clock here, man. So take us through your mindset, and I'll read off the picks after you guys pick again.
Sure. So we've got DeAndre Swift, Dobbins. I'm set at running back, so I'm not really looking at these guys. Kyle Pitts, probably a little too early for me. Rookie tight end. Yeah, you never know how they're going to perform, even though I think he'll be just fine this year. Michael Thomas, obviously, he'll be dropping down. Allen Robinson, I have ranked pretty high this year. I think he's going to dominate, especially now that hopefully he has a freaking QB. He's got half a QBs right now. We'll see which one steps up. So, yeah, I'm looking at Swift, Dobbins, Pitts, Thomas, Allen Robinson, Josh Jacobs. I'm going to go with Matt Stafford, though. Terry McLaurin, Trevor Lawrence. There's no way I'm going with Trevor Lawrence over Matthew Stafford, especially now with the Cam Akers news. I think that just gives Stafford a little bump up. This running game for the LA Rams, it could be a bit atrocious, honestly. So I think they're going to have to turn to Stafford quite a bit to win games this year. So I'm going to go with Stafford there.
Totally agree. And Jordan, you're up in just a second here, but you walked through everything I would have recommended to you. With all these QBs falling, or all these QBs going off the board, I think you're one of 3 teams that didn't have a quarterback yet, and some teams have 2 already. So if you don't get Matt Stafford, who again I think is ranked always as a high-end QB2, low-end QB1, but has the ceiling of QB6. He just doesn't run the ball. So that separates him. But he's like QB, that Aaron Rodgers, Ryan Tannehill area, 7, 8, 9, is where Matt Stafford definitely can be. And I agree with you where he was with the Akers news there. So good move there. Curly, you went with A.J. Brown, then Jalen Hurts, Justin Jefferson, Tom Brady, Ryan Tannehill, Keenan Allen, David Montgomery, and then you picked again with Matthew Stafford. Jordan, you're back on the clock, man. You have Jackson Chubb and Darren Waller. Looking at a wide receiver, but you're pretty much good everywhere else. What are you feeling with this next pick?
Yeah, so I agree with you. I think eventually I'm going to have to start turning to wide receivers here. Got to start 2 of them at some point. But what I was looking at was the teams that are drafting behind me on this draft board. The other Jordan right behind me had no running backs yet. You only have 1 running back. Actually, now the 4 teams all behind me, as well as Nick Tui in the 1, only had 1 running back. And I felt like the tier of running back that I would have been looking at coming back after this turn may not have been the tier that I want as my RB2. So I took the guy that I think in a PPR draft, I'm okay taking Swift, given that the receiving options in Detroit are just awful. Kind of reminds me of my Eagles, although I'm glad they now have Devonta Smith. But if he's going to be getting passing work out of the backfield, his only competition for targets, I think, really is TJ Hawkinson. I'm okay with having Swift as an RB2, potentially getting some 5 to 6 late dump offs and check downs late in the game when the Lions are trying to climb back. That's my RB2.
There you go. All right, Josh Jacobs goes after that. J.K. Dobbins goes next. I was considering J.K. Dobbins there. I think that's, again, great value. We're looking at J.K. Dobbins at basically like RB20 at this point. Values, again, in Superflex, values on quarterbacks skyrocket, so therefore the running backs and the wide receivers plummet. Okay, so running backs, I'm probably going to punt. I'm going to look for some PPR guys later. Michael Thomas would be great, obviously, here, but he's going to miss probably half the season. Quarterbacks, Curly, I'm with you. I'm not looking at Trevor Lawrence, Matt Ryan, Baker Mayfield. Maybe nice in another round or 2, but not here in the 3rd or 4th, excuse me. But you brought up a name last time, Curly, and I'm surprised he's still around. Let me just make sure. All right. I'm going to go with Allen Robinson here. 150 targets in back-to-back seasons. He has the touchdown upside. Again, even if it's Andy Dalton, he's going to get peppered. And Darnell Mooney, I think, is a great young stud coming up as well. But ultimately, Allen Robinson is going to get the work. He's got touchdown upside. This is a full PPR league. So if he's able to get, 100-plus catches, that's going to be dynamite. And that separates him from Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, in my opinion, Amari Cooper, Julio Jones. I love every one of those guys. But in a full PPR with the workload we've seen for 2 years in a row with Allen Robinson and an upgrade at quarterback, even if it's Andy Dalton, I do like that quite a bit here in the 4th round. Terry McLaurin and CeeDee Lamb have gone off. Kamish is back on the clock. Before we get too much further, I do want to give a quick shout out before I am back on the clock here. And I want to give a shout out to our friends at the Jersey Jungle. You're listening to all these names. You can go to the Jersey Jungle on Instagram, the Jersey Jungle. Hit the promo code TCK for 10% off of 1 or 2 jerseys, 15% off of 3 jerseys. You can do football, baseball. They have Olympic jerseys. They have rookie jerseys, home and away, basketball, soccer, World Cup jerseys. Whatever you're feeling, you can go to the Jersey Jungle. Authentic stitch and twill jerseys. Really nice, fit great, just like the players have on the field. You can customize them as well. Hit up the Jersey Jungle on Instagram, the Jersey Jungle. Hit up my man Trenton. Let him know that Sky and the TCK crew sent you 10% off of 1 or 2 jerseys, 15% off of 3. While we have a bit of a lull in the action, gentlemen, Curly, we'll start with you. It's been quite a while. One player in the entire NFL right now, you could have their jersey. Who would it be?
One player? Well, it would have been Cam Akers a couple of weeks ago because I had him on pretty much a couple of my dynasty teams and keeper league. Luckily, like a couple months ago, when I realized I had Cam Akers on just about every dynasty league, I decided to diversify a little bit, and I traded Cam Akers and Michael Thomas away for Matt Stafford, a 1.5, and Chris Godwin, and I ended up picking Najee Harris with that 1.5. So, holy cow! I feel bad for the guy I made that trade with, but I'd go with Cam Akers.
I like it. Jordan, how about you?
Yeah, I was trying to think while you're asking the question. I'm actually a big fan of the throwback jerseys. So getting anyone who's retiring, my favorite jersey right now that I have is Brian Dawkins.
Ooh, nice one.
Yeah. So who would I mean, I don't have an Ocho Cinco jersey. And I feel actually maybe this is because I just read a tweet from him earlier today about how he wants to get signed by the Saints.
Okay.
He's saying he'll play for free. He needs food and shelter, and he'll play. But yeah, I mean, I think he's a great personality, and he's also never played for my team, so it'd be good to diversify my jersey portfolio a little bit.
I like that, man. I'm a big fan of the throwbacks as well. I have quite a few. Sean Alexander, Marcus Allen on the Chiefs, because I just won't get a Raider jersey. I have Earl Campbell, Barry Sanders. I'm going to get a few extras as well. All right, let's catch up the listeners here on the picks. My last pick was Allen Robinson. After that, we got about 9 until my next one here. Terry McLaurin, CeeDee Lamb, Miles Sanders, Mike Evans, Kyle Pitts goes ahead of, let me check my math here. Kyle Pitts does go ahead of Darren Waller and Mark Andrews. And remember, folks, this is a redraft league, not dynasty. Amari Cooper, Matt Ryan, DJ Moore, and I'm back on the clock here in the 5th round. I have 2 stud wide receivers, Stephon Diggs, Allen Robinson. I've got Joe Mixon. I've got Josh Allen. I looked at the quarterbacks, but again, still kind of that middle tier. I'm not really feeling it yet. Still some great wide receivers. I'm not really crazy about the running backs. I'm going to pass on the tight end for another couple rounds maybe. My man Julio Jones, I just, out of principle, I can't let Julio Jones fall past me in like the 3rd or 4th round in regular, and in Superflex. The 5th round is just not going to happen. I know he might give me 8 games, but those 8 games, he's probably going to be a top 10 wide receiver minimum. And one of my favorite players of all time is just a straight up homer pick. I got to go with my man Julio in the 5th round. Chris Godwin, who I was thinking about as well, goes after him. And then Kareem Hunt. And Jordan, you are back on the clock. And once again, Curly on deck.
Yeah, I was hoping that Godwin had fell to me here. I think a lot of the wide receivers here are kind of in the same tier, so I don't think I'm really getting anyone at the tier break, which I love to do. But I am going to go and get my guy. I think Cooper Kupp is going to have a huge year this year, especially after the Cam Akers news. Does mean probably more targets, more receptions, more touchdowns for Cooper Kupp.
Love it.
So I'll take him as my wide receiver 1.
Love that pick. Big Cooper Kupp guy.
I'm going to grab his BFF. I'm going to grab Robert Woods.
Smart.
For all the same things. Especially, I mean, he's going to get a bump up even in the running game too, with those little jet sweeps and everything that McVay. He loves Robert Woods, just tinkering with him. So, I'm going to go with Robert Woods. Trevor Lawrence is up here. I really would like to grab another QB, but I think it's still way too early for a rookie quarterback. Chris Carson is a great value here. Darrell Henderson, we'll see. Mark Andrews and Hawkinson are great too, but I'm going to go with Robert Woods if I can find him before my clock runs out. Yeah, I'll go with Robert Woods. He's just too great of a value.
I agree. I love them both. I do have an edge to Cooper Kupp just because of the touchdown upside, but again, full PPR, Robert Woods kind of closes the gap. These guys could absolutely finish back-to-back, whether it's wide receiver 15, 16 or wide receiver 8, 9, frankly, if they get those touchdowns. And again, Cam Akers being out, Matt Stafford coming in. I say this every single time we talk about Matt Stafford in any grip. I've done about 4 episodes on the Rams and him specifically, and always mentioning the upgrades across the board over Jared Goff, and especially deep down the field is really important. The accuracy down the field is really going to help Kupp and Woods. So those are 2 great picks, guys. Deontay Johnson goes off the board, and then we have Michael Thomas goes off. Now this team is clearly stacked. Dak Prescott, Devontae Adams, Justin Jefferson, Keenan Allen, and Michael Thomas. So here's one strategy that I don't necessarily agree with in the 5th round, but let's talk through this really quick. He's got 3 wide receivers you're never going to take out of your lineup, period. They could all finish top 10 straight up. Adams, Jefferson, and Keenan Allen. Michael Thomas is falling to the almost the 6th round because of his injury. If he comes back and he's healthy and any of those guys go down, or now it's middle of bye week season and all that kind of stuff, and the Saints are clicking a little bit, that's an insane off the bench player to have. Who anybody else is going to be starting. So if you're going 0 RB, you might as well. And he ended up with Chris Carson, which isn't terrible, as your first running back in the 6th round. So it looks crazy on paper, but I don't hate this strategy. Right before that, Deontay Johnson, Michael Thomas, Darrell Henderson does go off, Brandon Ayuk, Chris Carson, Myles Gaskin. Curly, you're back on, and Jordan on deck.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Trevor Lawrence here. He keeps dropping. I was considering him last round, but I thought it was just a little bit too early. But here in the 6th round in a super flex, I think Lawrence, he's still a gamble because we don't even know what the heck the Jags are going to look like this year. It could be a complete mess. But I think a lot of us are forgetting in the fantasy community that he is a running quarterback as well. So I'm going to go with Trevor Lawrence there and maybe pick up another quarterback in a few rounds just in case.
I like it. Jordan, you're back up.
Yeah, and I really don't want to do this, but I think I have to. I'm not as high on Jamar Chase as everyone else is. I think normally his draft cost is just too high from what I've been seeing in other redraft leagues, mocks, everything like that. But here, taking him, I think with the upside that he has, if Joe Burrow is fully healthy, with defenses having to cover Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd, Joe Mixon, I think there's plenty to go around in that Bengals offense, especially because they're probably going to be coming from behind in more games than not. So I think also I saw a stat the other day that they had the highest pass rate in neutral game situations as well.
Right. Smart. Yeah. I mean, Joe Burrow was attempting something ridiculous, like 45, 50 attempts per game, which is obviously unsustainable an entire season, but maybe not in today's NFL. And like the reality is, for half of the year, he was doing that. So was Dak. People were like, Dak was on pace for 6,000 yards. There's no way, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, well, for 5 games, that's what they did. So like maybe they change it up, but if he didn't get hurt, shit. I mean, who knows, right? Okay, yeah. So you went Jamar Chase, and then we had TJ Hawkinson go off finally. Justin Fields go off, and then I'm looking on the board here, and Mark Andrews is still – I assumed Mark Andrews went off like 3 rounds ago. He didn't. I was looking at quarterbacks, but at this point, they're all kind of the same in my opinion. Running backs are the same. I have 3 great wide receivers. So I'm going to go with, again, a difference maker, I feel, in Mark Andrews here at my tight end position. I feel good about tight end. Feel good about wide receiver. Now I can look at quarterback and running back the majority of the rest of the draft. Lucas went with T. Higgins, who I was also looking at with that pick. Mike Davis goes off. 4 running backs for Fantasy Football Truth. Dalvin Cook, Najee Harris, Austin Eckler, and Mike Davis to go along with Matt Ryan and CeeDee Lamb. Kirk Cousins goes off, and Nick Tui has 2 picks here before the commish is back on the clock. So I will take this time really quickly to give another shout out to another one of our sponsors, and that is the Red Zone Draft Boards. Yo, this one is a great one. So for those of you now, Curly and I have been in a home league for 12 years. For 10 of those years, up until the quarantine, we did a live draft. And those of us that were still in the state and still around used to group up in the house, play a game of poker, chips and salsa, get the grubs out, and have a live draft. It was a lot of fun. You can get that live draft board now at Red Zone. Draftwithredzone.com. Use the promo code TCK for 10% off. And as you know, Bobby reads this off for you, but I will as well. You get a championship ring. Those are usually $50 as is. You get a championship ring. You get the draft board, a 3x5 foot draft board, 14 teams, 20 rounds. You get 400 plus players, plus customized ring case as well. You get a last place sign if you guys want to talk a little smack in your league. Exclusive Fantasy Point cheat sheets. So when you go to a live draft, it's interesting because people bring in their cheat sheets from their own research. They bring them in from ESPN, Fantasy Pros, CBS, Yahoo, whatever. You get them from Fantasy Points, which is one of the more accurate sites out there, dishing you out a printable set of rankings that comes with it as well. You get wall putty, so you can stick it up on there so you don't have to take duct tape and rip off your wallpaper there. And then you get also the draft order stickers, and you get a donation also that goes to help kids play sports. So you get $5 of every draft board, helps kids play sports. There's nothing better than that. I'm very passionate about that in my personal life as well. So once again, hit up Red Zone draft boards at draftwithredzone.com. Use the promo code TCK for 10% off. All right, boys, I am back on the clock here in just a tick. Let's take a look. Let's take a look here. Okay, Travis Etienne, Adam Thielen, Kenny Golladay, Carson Wentz, and Trey Lance. Heck. Lucas takes him right before me. That's definitely a personal jab. That's 100%, 100% personal.
I think Jimmy G is still available since he's starting too.
Well, I'm gonna take Mullins instead. I'll be good later. I wanted Trey Lance. All right. Well, that changes everything. Baker, nah. James Robinson, meh. I'm gonna go with. I'm gonna do it just because. I'm gonna go with huge upside here and hope for the best, and take the value with Odell in the 7th round. Stephon Diggs, Allen Robinson, Julio Jones, and Odell Beckham. Solid wide receiver course, assuming these guys stay healthy, and then Josh Allen and Mark Andrews to go with my man Joe Mixon. All right, we got Dallas Goedert goes off the board. Now, Curly, you do not have a tight end, so I would assume at this point you're probably just punting to the end and hoping to get lucky with a late round sleeper. Deshaun Watson goes off, 3rd quarterback. I did consider Deshaun Watson in the middle of the 7th round there, but Jordan, you're back up. Curly, you're on deck. And gentlemen, because of the shortened roster here, for sake of time on the podcast, we only have 3 to 4 more picks. So choose wisely. Jordan, you're back on the clock.
Yeah, I think I took this guy in our last mock as well, but I'm going to do it again. Taking Tyler Lockett. I talked last time about how inconsistent he was last year. Over half of his games were worse than a wide receiver 3 finish. But I am okay taking him as a wide receiver 3 on any of my redraft teams. I think he's going to finish, if he does have the same inconsistency issues as last year, below that wide receiver 3 thresh mark a couple of times, but probably not too far behind, 1 to 5 points a week. But those games that he does produce, he's going to win you that week. He's going to produce at the wide receiver 1, high-end wide receiver 2 level.
Humongous games from Tyler Lockett in those 3, but 46% of his total fantasy points came in just 3 games. He's been very consistent before last year. We know that the wheels fell off of the Seahawks second half of the year, but you cannot have that kind of boom or bust in your wide receiver. But good news for you, Jordan, he is your 3rd wide receiver. But with the rookie and Jamar Chase, we all expect big things, but we'll see what happens, and a new quarterback for Cooper Kupp as well. Kind of a risky core there, in my opinion. Curly, you're back up, man. Who are you feeling?
Yeah, I decided to go with Javonte Williams here.
Nice.
James Robinson's on the board. Noah, like you said, I need a tight end, but Noah, the only tight ends available right now are Noah Fant. Here, let me pull it up. It's kind of that tight end dead zone for me, like Noah Fant, Gesicki, Logan Thomas. I'm not on at all this year. So I'm probably just going to wait, like you said, a few more rounds and pick up a couple of tight ends. But yeah, Javonte Williams. I'm back on the clock already too. Let's see who we got. Tua, DJ Chark, Devontae Smith looks good there. I'm not really high on DJ Chark this year. Daniel Jones would be not a terrible number 3 QB to sit on your bench just to kind of grab and stash. But I'm sure Daniel Jones will be around next round or so. So Devontae Smith, I might have to go with. Raheem Mostert's great value here too if he's still on the Niners. Jerry Jeudy too. Devontae Smith or Jerry Jeudy? I'm gonna go Devontae Smith just because Philly doesn't have the most weapons right now, and yeah, I think he's gonna go crazy this year. He'll be the main weapon for that team. So I'm gonna stack up.
Man,
wide receivers there.
Mock draft tilt. You got an Eagle fan on air, and Curly's about to go Jerry Jeudy, and he goes with Devonta Smith. I like it. Jordan, how are you going to rebound here, buddy?
I don't know. I was preparing my script. I was
commitment.
I was ready to just say, okay, you passed on Devonta Smith. I'll happily take him, and now I have no
mock
idea
draft
what
tilt,
I'm
ladies
doing.
and gentlemen. It is real.
Yeah, I mean, similar. I don't love any of the wide. I now no longer like the wide receivers here. I now no longer like
10 seconds.
Pretty much anyone. So I actually will go with Jerry Jeudy. I was hoping that Cortland Sutton fell to this point as well. I do prefer Sutton over Jerry Jeudy. But given my wide receiving core right now, I'm going to need someone to hit. And so at this point, out of Lockett, Jeudy, Jamar Chase, or Cooper Kupp, I'm going to feel confident that on any given 2 weeks, I can find a matchup that's going to be sufficient to play at least as my wide receiver too.
I like it. That's a good call. And man, that was some serious mock draft tilt. I loved that. That was good. That was good. It was good. It's serious, man. We're only a month out. It's time.
It's good practice, right?
It is great practice because the reality is, like, again, Jordan, you're an Eagles fan, so you're like, yo, I'm definitely going to get my guy in the 8th round, whatever. And then, Jerry Jeudy's awesome. It's not like you bombed a pick or anything. But that's your guy. It's somebody you want. You're just like, oh shit, now I got to go.
And the worst part about it too is in all my redraft leagues so far this year, I've yet to draft Devonta Smith on any of my teams, any mocks. I have Hurts in a couple leagues. I got a good amount of shares of him. But I haven't yet gotten Devonta Smith. And so I thought this was going to be the draft where I'll take him. And the pick before.
Nope.
Yep.
All right. So we had, let's see, Devonta Smith stolen right under the nose of Jordan here. He goes with Jerry Jeudy. Then we have Deebo Samuel, Tua Tagovailoa. I went with Raheem Mostert. I do think he stays on the team. I know he's nursing a something because he always is, but the reality is he's the dog there. They're going to want him to be there. There's no reason. He's cheap still. He's a rare starting running back because he's been in the league 6 years doing nothing, that he costs them nothing to keep on the roster. For depth minimum, he should be the starter while Trey Sermon gets his feet wet. In a redraft purpose, this late in the game, I need a second running back. I need a guy that's going to give me at least 4 weeks, and then I can hope a rookie pans out, hit the waiver wire, make a trade, do whatever. Raheem Mostert should give me 3 to 4 unless he's just straight up cut, which I don't think will happen. But I'm going to take Raheem Mostert here in the 8th round. Sam Darnold goes. Juju off the board as well. The commish has gone with Ronald Jones. Nick Tui back up for 2 more picks. And then I will be back on the clock for my final pick. And before we do that, one more time, I want to give a shout out to our final sponsor of the program, one of Curly's favorites. I'm going to get into Bomb Banana Hot Sauce. Banana based, not banana flavored. Sponsor the program, TCK, for 10% off of your order. Seekthespice.com. As you're checking out, make sure you let them know that TCK sent you. Once again, 10% off of your order here. Banana based, not banana flavored. You got the Muy Muy in the red, which is the extra hot, and you got the white label, which is a bit more mild. Now, Curly, you and I go back, man, like, this is really weird to say, but you and I go back like 25 years, which is really bizarre. You're a spice guy. I'm not. If my math is correct, your dad eats horseradish by like the spoonful. I think I've seen him do that. You're a spice guy. I'm not. I asked Bobby this, and I like to ask our guests because I want to gauge the room. I think you'd be interested as a spice fan. If you could take any fruit and kind of, manipulate it into a hot sauce, what fruit would you like to do that with?
I made a mango salsa a couple days ago, so probably a mango. Mangoes go good with hot sauces.
Bobby went mango as well. I think that's a pretty popular one for hot sauces. Sweet, little tang, nice kick. And ladies and gentlemen, this man, used to make a weekly chili. Back in the day when we were roommates, it was like the best when you're in college. You have like $9. You throw it all into one pot and you live off of it for a week. It was the best, man. You make incredible habanero hot sauce. So appreciate that. I miss your grubs, bro. All right. So we have Bomb Banana Hot Sauce. One more time, seekthespice.com, TCK, promo code 10% off. Let's catch you up here. DJ Chark goes off. Melvin Gordon goes off. Jalen Waddle, Laviska Shenault, Lucas is up, and then I am up. And we have 2 picks left. Only 10 rounds. Sake of the podcast, we're trying to speed it up here. Of course, we can go forever. We will do that eventually, but I'll make it happen. Lucas is looking at my roster very intently, and knows exactly what I'm going to do every pick. So he picks Ryan Fitzpatrick, who's probably the only quarterback I want anymore. I need a second one, but with two picks left, I need to pick a quarterback here. Daniel Jones is not sexy, but I'm thinking about it. Derek Carr, out of principle, I can't. You know what? I'm going to punt one more time because I got another one I'm just going to do who's not going to be picked yet. And I got to go with my man Trey Sermon because I need to lock up that 49er backfield. I feel really good now about my running backs and my team overall because if Heem goes down, I have Sermon. I've got Mixon as well, and I will be picking a quarterback in my last pick in the 10th round to solidify my team. T-Strain is back on the clock here, and then Jordan Steinman is up, and then Jordan Della Valle. So Curly and Jordan, you have 2 picks each left here. Jordan, we'll kick off with you. You've gotten 4 wide receivers in a row after not picking one until the 5th round. What are you feeling?
Yeah, I'm in a similar boat as you. I haven't taken a quarterback since Lamar in the first. I also was targeting Fitzpatrick here. Sounds like there was a 0% chance he was making it back, but at least it wasn't right before me this time. I'm essentially between Derek Carr and Daniel Jones. And in the event of a tiebreaker, I'll go with Derek Carr since I already have Waller. I really don't love either of these, to be honest with you, but given who was left, the fact that I felt like I had to go 4 wide receivers there in the middle, given that I waited so late, this is where we are in the draft.
Derek Carr, QB 13 last year somehow with no weapons and terrible coaching. I think he could absolutely take a step with Brian Edwards coming back, Henry Ruggs getting a second year in, Darren Waller, of course, being unguardable. And Kenyon Drake, I'm telling you, folks, Kenyon Drake is a sleeper for me. I think he could really do some work in Las Vegas there. And I don't hate Josh Jacobs, but if Josh Jacobs slips and he hasn't been terribly efficient, he just has scored a lot of touchdowns. Kenyon Drake, I think, is getting slept on in the fantasy community. So keep an eye on him, and he's a nice pass catcher for Derek Carr there as well. Curly, you're back on the clock, man. Your second to last pick. What are you feeling?
Yeah, I was really looking at tight end for the past 5 minutes as this pick has been coming back around to me, especially looking at Robert Tonyan. I was looking at Logan Thomas, Robert Tonyan, who are available, but I saw Michael Carter sitting there still in the 9th round. That could be a huge league winner too, especially with the Jets, with the new coaches heading over there. They might have a heavy run scheme. So we have no idea what the heck the Jets are going to look like this year. I'm sure they have a young quarterback, so I'm sure they're going to run the heck out of the ball. So Michael Carter was too good to pick up. Then Logan Thomas, of course, goes right before it comes.
He got
back
paid
to
today, baby. He got paid.
So I definitely actually have Robert Tonyan ranked higher than Logan Thomas, just because Fitzpatrick, he doesn't really target his tight end all that much. Actually, right. He does like lock on to one wide receiver. So I think Logan Thomas is a bit of a wasted pick this year. Robert Tonyan finished number 4 in PPR, number 3 in standard. So that's an easy pick for Tonyan there.
And Robert Tonyan, of course, gets his quarterback walking in the building this morning. All right, so Robert Tonyan off the board there. I think that's a great pick. Logan Thomas gets paid. Mike Gesicki, Zach Wilson, Antonio Brown. Do not forget about Antonio Brown in your drafts, ladies and gentlemen. Daniel Jones, Damian Harris, and Michael Carter in between Curly's picks. Jordan, you're back on the clock, man, for your final pick, and we've got a few more until mine, and we're going to wrap this up.
Yeah, so I was looking at my lineup. Noticed I only have 2 running backs. Whether or not I'd make this pick here or gamble and wait for it to come around on the 11th if we were going extra rounds is a debate, but since it is my last pick, I'll just make it to talk about him. David Johnson. It feels gross, but he is a pretty good pass catching back. I do obviously expect, like everyone else, the Texans to be behind in most of their games. I'm not worried about Lindsey. I'm not worried about Mark Ingram. I'm not worried about – is Rex Burkhead still even in? I think he got cut, didn't he?
He will eventually.
Yeah. I mean, I'm also trying to – it's too hard to count all the way down here what RB he was taken off the board. But I promise you he's probably going to outperform what looks like RB 30.
Yeah.
I agree. I just pulled up his player card. I got to make my pick here, but I would just put up his player card, and he still finished, again, a back end wide receiver or running back one. Okay, I got to pick a quarterback here just to fill out my roster. So it's between Big Ben, Jared Goff, Jameis Winston, Cam Newton, Mac Jones, yada yada. Again, we would have a much deeper roster. In that case, I will end up picking another a quarterback, or two. So because I'm looking again at looking at the first 3 weeks, 4 weeks of the season for sure to make sure that I'm dialed in. Believe it or not, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going with Cam Newton. I just did a feature with Bobby with our studs, duds, breakouts, and sleepers last episode. Bobby and I broke down the AFC East, and our deep sleeper, each one of our deep sleepers was Cam Newton. I went into it in depth. Look, I only 8 passing touchdowns. I get it. It's pathetic. But if he only gets up to 15, which is still pathetic, he's going to absolutely exceed his ADP. He had 12 rushing touchdowns last year. He's got another year off the surgery. They flushed out all of his terrible weapons last year, and they brought in 2 great tight ends, Nelson Aguilar, whatever, my man Kendrick Bourne, whatever, but they're better weapons than they were last year with Damiere Byrd and N'Keal Harry. So I like Cam Newton here. And again, in the 10th round, you could probably even get him later in most drafts, but I got him in the 10th here to solidify my roster because of our roster settings. But I like that pick there to kind of fill up my spot. And I've got Josh Allen and Cam Newton, who are both 2 of the best running quarterbacks. We're about to wrap up the draft here. I want to thank everybody. Thank you for joining. Bam. Let's get through the rest of this here. We'll review our rosters. Boys, while I am going through the last couple of picks, please look through your roster and cherry pick one of your favorite picks that you got value on, that you enjoyed. You were like, good, I was stoked to get this guy. And then find a player maybe that in hindsight you may have picked somebody else in that position if you weren't under the gun with only 60 seconds on the clock. Again, I went with let's see, the last couple picks. Curly went with Robert Tonyan, David Johnson to Jordan, Leonard Fournette, Kenyon Drake went right before me. Then I went with Cameron Newton, Tony Pollard, Irv Smith, Rob Gronkowski, and to wrap up the draft here, Nick Tui as well. So let's pull it up here. And Curly, we will start with you, my man. Let's highlight your team. And for the podcasters, please roll down your team here just in a by round is fine. Let us know who you picked in order, and then find your best value pick, and then maybe a pick that you may have changed if you were to look in hindsight going back on it.
Right. Sure. I went with Zeke in the first at the 1-9 spot, Jonathan Taylor in the second round, A.J. Brown in the third. Finally had to grab my first QB in the fourth round, went with Matt Stafford. Robert Woods in the fifth, in the 5-9. That's a pretty good value there. Trevor Lawrence in the sixth. I don't know. I don't feel great about Trevor Lawrence as my second QB, but as you said, Sky, not too long ago, if there were more rounds, more bench spots, I would definitely have a couple backup QBs behind Trevor Lawrence there, especially for the first few weeks, like maybe go with a Cam Newton or somebody who I knew was starting. I knew Trevor Lawrence there in the 6, Javonte Williams in the 7, Devontae Smith in the 8, Michael Carter 9, and Robert Tonyan in the 10th round. Like I just said, anything that I regret a little bit, like maybe instead of going with Trevor Lawrence, two picks later, Hawkinson went, and two picks after that, Mark Andrews went. So I could have gone with Hawkinson or Andrews, a top 5 tight end there instead of Trevor Lawrence in the 6th round. And then I could have grabbed, let's see, who went in like in the 7th. Baker Mayfield, he's all right. But yeah, Trey Lance, Carson Wentz, Tua, Fitzpatrick, Cam Newton, Daniel Jones, Zach Wilson, all these guys went on later. So yeah, I could have done that. And then a crazy value pick. Let's see here. I mean, Robert Woods is always a good crazy value. I think I'll go with Michael Carter in the 9th because, like I said, I was really targeting a tight end right there, but I was surprised that he was still around. He is a huge gamble. He could be just a wasted pick, but it's the 9th freaking round. So that's that's when that's when you're trying to win the league right there, right? You have to make those picks. Otherwise you're going to finish 3rd, 4th, 5th. And who the hell wants to, finish 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th? So yeah, Michael Carter, great value there. He could be a top 15 RB this year.
Awesome, man. I agree with those picks. And it's always nice to get a stack. And you got Matt Stafford in the 4th in a super flex, which is nice value. And you got Robert Woods right behind him there. So you got that teammate stack. I like that a lot. Jordan, let's move on to yours, man. Same thing. Roll your roster and give us your value and maybe somebody you would have swapped out.
Yeah, sure. Started off with Lamar Jackson in the 1st, Nick Chubb in the 2nd. Grabbed Darren Waller's my tight end in the 3rd. Moved on to DeAndre Swift in the 4th. Had my little wide receiver run of Cup, Chase, Lockett, and then Judy in the 5th through 8th. I think I grabbed my 2nd QB in Carr in the 9th, and then David Johnson in the 10th. In terms of greatest value, I counted while we were finishing up the draft. It's a value because he will outperform this finish. David Johnson was the 36th running back off of the board.
He's a starter.
That is the definition of value for a guy who is proven to be a pass-catching back in an offense that will be passing and trailing a lot. He's also the presumed starter, and like I mentioned, I'm not worried about him splitting time with Phillip Lindsay or Rex Burkhead or whoever else they have on that team.
Mark Ingram going to be cut. Phillip Lindsay will probably be the backup. Rex Burkhead probably going to get cut as well. So I agree there. David Johnson's a steal in the 10th at RB 36. It's insane.
And in the very small chance that Watson somehow decides to play for the Texans, it's just even better for David Johnson. The pick I'll redo, I mean, I wouldn't actually take Devonta Smith over Lockett, but can I say that just so I don't have the tilt in the 8th when he gets stolen from me?
Yeah. This is your podcast, bro. Say whatever you want.
No, I wish I got Devonta Smith, but I wouldn't have taken him over Tyler Lockett. I still did like that pick. I think the pick that I probably would have redid is, let's see, maybe Carr, actually. I think I was actually between Carr and Carter, Michael Carter there. And like Curly mentioned, I loved his mention of you don't want to finish 3rd, 4th, 5th. Like you want to finish 1st. And in the chance that Michael Carter does break out and could be a top 24 back, I mean, that's someone that's potentially going to win you your league.
Absolutely. When you're out of the 8th, 10th round or so, obviously we're shortchanged on this draft, but when you're in the 10th round plus, you're looking for upside players that will produce a little bit because you don't want dead picks, but you need upside players, and Michael Carter is certainly that guy.
Yeah.
All right, let me get into my roster here, and we'll get out of here. Josh Allen, Stephon Diggs, right off the top there with the Bills stack and with Joe Mixon, Allen Robinson, Julio Jones, Mark Andrews, Odell Beckham, Trey Sermon, and Raheem Mostert for the 49er backfield, and then Cam Newton. So I've been looking at my roster while you guys have been talking, and I have like a few guys that I'm kind of stoked I got value on. But I think Joe Mixon in the 3rd round, that last tier, I like a lot. So I think he's going to be my pick on value. But depending on how Cam Newton actually finishes, he's like the David Johnson of quarterback picks right now. I mean, again, if Cam Newton stays healthy, he plays like 14, 15 games. Let's say he gets 7, 8 rushing touchdowns, which is probably a guarantee, throws for 3,500 yards, which he wasn't even close last year. And let's give him 15 touchdowns, which is nothing. He's going to be an upper echelon QB2 with his rushing upside. And he's getting buried right now at QB 32 right now, I think. So I like Cam, but I'll go with Joe Mixon just in the back of the 3rd round here, which you're not going to find in redraft single quarterback. The pick that I might throw back, I mean, I like Odell, and I feel like I'm one of the rare people like on his back again this year. But because of the risk, because I have 3 other incredible receivers, it was kind of a greedy pick, to be honest, to get Odell with the upside. So I'm not sure. I'm trying to look at the rest of the board, who I would have gotten instead of him right here. Could have gone another quarterback, earlier. But honestly, I don't hate the Odell pick, but that's probably the one that I could have swapped out just because we don't know what we're going to get. He looks good in offseason, but everybody does. So I'm going to go Joe Mixon as my value, Odell as maybe the fish I would throw back. All right, gentlemen. Well, I appreciate you jumping on for this mock draft. Everybody that tuned in to the mock draft, I appreciate you. Thank you very much. This has been a lot of fun, man. This series of mock drafts, we're going to continue at one a week all the way through draft season through August. We're coming in hot. We have some great announcements next week. We have the listener leagues coming back that people have been bugging me about. We got a lot of things coming up on the horizon. Stay tuned. We got information for you coming up next week. Bobby's got a guest for his breakdown of the NFC East. I do as well for the rest of this week. And if you missed our AFC East breakouts, bust, sleepers, and studs and duds, then make sure you tune it back one episode here. Curly, it was really good to have you back, man. Blessings to you and the missus and the family. Again, we're besties off screen as well. It's been a long time. Again, you're not much in the fantasy circle as far as an analyst and things like that, so you don't have to throw out your handles and things like that. But leave us with something. Leave us with something that you're looking forward to in training camp. A player you really want to see develop, somebody maybe in a dynasty league or whatever. I know you lost out on Akers. Someone that you're just hyped on this year that is like your guy heading into 2021.
My guy, I'm not sure about my guy, but I mean, it was such a weird offseason, right? With so much drama with Rodgers. We have Deshaun Watson. There's just a lot of weird drama. So I've been super excited with training camp starting, that now that we're getting to see who the heck is reporting and what drama is real and not so real. So that's one thing that I'm really excited about over the next few weeks is just finally being able to actually see what the hell is really going on, to see the truth, and to really really get these rankings ironed out, or these tiers ironed out, however you go about your process. But yeah.
I agree, and it felt nice to go back into my rankings this morning, put Devontae Adams at the top, put Aaron Jones in the top 10, and feel good about it. Versus I might have to move this, and just put them in their place, let it go, and now I can move on with my summer. Jordan, how about you, brother? Please let everybody know where we can find your content, and give me something that you're excited about too in either Eagles land or anywhere else among the fantasy landscape as training camps are underway.
Yeah, absolutely. You can find me on Twitter at JDelValley7. But in terms of what I'm most excited for, let's start with the Eagles, is avoiding the Deshaun Watson trade and getting to see Jalen Hurts break out. It does carry over a little bit into my fantasy life because of how much exposure I currently have to Jalen Hurts. But I just think he is set to ball out.
I agree
with Devonta Smith and his second year in that offense. In terms of fantasy, I think it's similar to you guys. I'm hoping to avoid some more of these injuries. I was not a victim of the Cam Akers injury, but I was of the Michael Thomas.
Yeah.
So thankfully not season ending, but trying to get rid of some of them. Can't seem to do it.
I dig it. Right on. Well, you can find me on Twitter as well. Sky Guasco, SkyGuasco on Instagram as well. Fantasy football _TCK pod. Make sure to listen and give a rate and review anywhere you're listening to your Believe podcast networks. And make sure to follow us right here on YouTube. Subscribe, hit the bell, leave a comment and how you feel about our mock drafts. One thing I'm excited about, man, is just getting through the rest of this with minimal injuries. Last year was so brutal with injuries and COVID stuff. Hopefully COVID's not as much of an issue this season. Doesn't seem to be yet, but the injuries, man, were just absolutely annihilating, and we've lost two big studs already in Cam Akers and Michael Thomas. So let's hope, and my boy Jeff Wilson, of course. Let's hope we get better. I appreciate you tuning in. This has been another episode of the Candlestick Kids Fantasy Football Podcast, episode 419 in the books. Another mock draft. We'll be back with you next week for another mock draft. This episode has been brought to you by Bet Online, your online sports betting experts. For my man Curly, it's been a long time, brother. Have to get you back real soon. And Jordan Della Valle, I am your host, Sky Guasco, and we are out of here.